Hey everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and this time I'm playing in the Tier 10 Soviet medium tank, the Object 140, and still my favourite all-round Tier 10 vehicle. This is the one that I would go to if I feel like I want to be competitive, irrelevant of the map. Of course, there are some maps that I feel that other tanks will be better than the Object 140, but this thing just, for me at least, it just fits. It's just so versatile on a load of the different maps, and it's still my preferred Tier 10 Soviet medium, even though a tank that we just shot, the Object 430U, is now in the game. And I think it's about time to readdress the age-old, frequently asked question that I get all the time, and that is, which Tier 10 Soviet medium tank should I go for and why? Well, let's drop back a couple of years and talk about when it was the T62A, the Object 140, and the Object 430. And I'm not talking about the Object 430U, I'm talking about what was now the Tier 9 tank that was previously at Tier 10. Well, before the turret armor buff of the Object 140, the T62A had the vastly better turret, because the Object 140 would be getting overmatched pretty much all the time if you hit the top of the turret, which was absolutely awful because you couldn't sit, hold down and feel like you were reliable, right? However, then Wargaming decided, okay, let's for some reason buff the top of the Object 140's turret massively now so it can't be overmatched, and so that kind of, it made me think, well, why bother playing the T62A when you can play a vehicle that goes 10% faster, has one extra degree of gun depression, and all of the other aspects of the vehicle, they don't really matter so much about the tiny little bit better accuracy and gun handling and all of that with this T62A. Doesn't outweigh the benefits of going for the 140. And you would probably go for the Object 430, not the U, the standard vehicle, which was Tier 9 now, well, sorry, was Tier 10, now Tier 9. If you wanted to have a bit more hull armor and you wanted to go a little bit crazy and you wanted to have a wild rate of fire, but frankly, the wild rate of fire for the 430 was not worth it. Because of the gun handling on the vehicle was absolutely awful, and even though you had this tiny little bit better rate of fire, it wouldn't help you unless you were purely in a close range scenario. And for the tiny benefit that you got, you missed so many shots, or you just whiffed them, especially on the move, and it was very frustrating. And the 430 would actually probably end up doing less damage than T62A or an Object 140, which kind of answers the argument of, is damage per minute everything? No, it's not. Damage per minute is not everything. Something like an E50M will tell that to you, that especially at long range, how reliable you can be with that vehicle. You can do exceedingly well, even though it has the worst single shot damage per minute, but that's kind of going to change when the Italian Tier 10 medium tank comes in, right? Oh, I'm talking about it. It's Thursday afternoon. Maybe Wargaming are going to release some kind of new version of the test server. Oh, I'm really looking forward to that, to see whether they're going to be bust the Tier 10 Italian medium tank or not. I feel fairly confident, but I'm not 100% certain. Okay, so then, a couple of patches ago, Wargaming introduced the Object 430U as a replacement for the 430, and it has 440 alpha damage, and it's got really, really good armor, a lot like a T62A. And you got a question, why would you really bother with a T62A now? The only benefit of a T62A is it has the great turret like the 430U, and it has a DPM advantage, but I just feel like for the amount of hull armor that you lose and also the alpha damage that you have to sacrifice, that it's just totally not worth it. And so now I would personally recommend, especially for a beginning player, that you should get the Object 430U. I just don't think you can go wrong with it. However, for somebody who wants to be maybe a little bit more aggressive or play a mid-range role, or doesn't want to depend on their armor so much and wants to have some gun capacity and also the better rate of fire on this tank. The rate of fire is so good that I feel I can keep my opponents tracked reliably with the 140. And so I think for a mid to advanced player, or somebody who just gets frustrated by slow tanks or poor DPM, then you probably want to go for the 140. But if you want to try and play more of a heavy role, then the 430 will be right up your street. Anyway, now that frequently asked question is out the way, let's talk about what's going on here. And this 430U is wiggling his turret to try and, I guess, so I don't hit his cupolas, but I'm just gonna guess damp the 2 key and try and shoot it at his cheeks. What I want to do is I want to fire when he turns his gun to the right, because when he turns his gun to the right, he's going to expose more of his cheek armor, which is a little bit weaker. There you go. Right in the side of the tank there, poor guy. He was like, no, 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 please don't do it. That didn't quite work out for him. I'm sorry, 430, but I have absolutely no problem slamming heat rounds into the side of a 430U and also of a 268 version for those two sneaky tanks. Talking about sneaky tanks, the Bat Chatillon 12T pops up over the ridge, distracts me for long enough so the 432 manages to get a shot into the side of me. Disaster. Because now I'm down to 338 hit points, and if this defender manages to get me, it's going to be good night, QuickyBaby, but luckily, he doesn't. And so I decide, oh, this ridgeline, it just feels too hot right now. I need to back up. I need to back up and maybe try and lull them out into the open so my artillery can get shots, or alternatively, that this Stridsvagn S1, that tier 8 Swedish premium tank destroyer, can start to unload on them with his ultra-high penetration and his 105mm main armament. Alright. So I also wanted to talk about just the start of this game and the way that I played it. I was probably just a little bit too aggressive down the center. I think I was overconfident. I was expecting to get lots of shots, to use my camera rating to avoid getting spotted. And yeah, that Batchat 12T with his premium clip there, and also the Borsig really did catch me ill-prepared. And we didn't really get much vision out down the center as well, which is a little bit disappointing. So losing those initial hit points have meant that I've had to start to play a little bit more safely in this game. And oh, a terrible shot there to not hit the Batchat 12T. I'm certainly going to regret that, because that is not a tank that you want to leave in the game. Okay, so one thing that was very important that I wanted to highlight there, and this is called feathering the tank. Now, what do I mean? Well, one thing that you'll see me do, especially if you see me stream, is that when something's in a bush and I can't see them, I'll move my mouse around like this. And what I'm doing when I'm like that is I'm actually trying to find the outline of the tank, because once you've found the outline of the tank, you can kind of tell where the edges of the buildings are, even through the bushes. Now, one big tip that I've got for you is that when you're between your reloads and you've got a little bit of time, feather the back of the tank, because if you feather the back of the tank, what that will allow you to do is then adjust just before it manages to get around the corner and fire your shot. Now, I hope I've explained that pretty well, but maybe we're going to see later on. But here's quite a fun moment. I go out around the corner knowing that artillery was going to shoot, and then I bait the artillery shot. So great stuff. I mean, if that was the Batchat 155-58, then I just got him to waste one of his rounds in his 3-round magazine. And also, if I can get the artillery firing, then that should mean that maybe my artillery can spot where the artillery are, and then maybe try and get some counter-battery shots. Okay, so unfortunately, looks like our Scorpion falls. I'm sorry that I had to fall back, but I felt like I had to be a last line of defense here to try and protect our two self-propelled guns. I thought that was the best opportunity that I had to win the game, and I didn't fancy my chances against what was a full health Leopard and the Object 432. Just got to try and keep myself in the game here. The 257 on my team hits the Tiger P, and I try to fire one through the post there. However, it doesn't look like it goes all the way, and we don't hit the Leopard. Still trying to find the extra shot. Are we going to get him? No, but obviously what the enemy team are doing now is they're going after my 257, so I feel that it's now time to advance, right? Because the Batchat 12T and probably the Leopard is going over here to try and assist him, I've only got one option, and that is to try and put some pressure up on the 432 who is alone, or alternatively just establish dominance of the ridge line again on Runeberg, because it's really the team that kind of controls the center with the vision that will be able to lock down the eastern part of the map. So our 257 did a great job there to take out that Bat Chatillon 12T, or was it the artillery that took him out? I didn't quite see. Either or. Well, let's see. Has he got a kill? He's got 3 kills. And our artillery has... Well, one of them's got 2, one of them's got none. So maybe it was the 257 who did shut down the 12T there. Okay, so it was right for me to advance, because the 432 had also gone there, along with the Borsig and, to all intents and purposes, the Leopard, into position. So I had an opportunity to advance, albeit safely, to hopefully now try and get some view range out for my artillery. And I'm still just wondering, what's this S1 doing right now? Come on, buddy, you're going to... I guess he's... No, that's fine for now, right? That's fine. What the S1 is doing is absolutely fine, because he's just expecting the Leopard to come and push, and I'm still happy because he'll be covering me. And what I'm trying to do is trying to get some vision down through the town here, while also managing to get some vision along here through the bush. And there you go, the 432 spotted. I decide to reverse up. Let's see if the 432 does something when his 6th sense goes off, trying to look for the shot. I don't quite find the shot, but we also managed to spot the Leopard there through the building. So are we going to get a shot into him? Yeah, there we go. Feather out the shot, find it. And he's down to 160 health. He didn't spot us because we were firing through the bushes, so I decide that it's time to push my advantage, and I go forwards. Our artillery finishes off the Leopard prototype. Great stuff. I put affirmative in the chat. I want to try and keep my artillery motivated here. to keep going. And boy, I do love playing with artillery that can hit things and are actively trying to participate. Especially you can see the M4043 communicating his reloads. If you're playing in artillery and you're playing with somebody who's actively trying to scout for you, I think it's the F8 key to be able to... Can you press F1 in World of Tanks to see the help tips? Help? Does that work? Where's the F8 key? Are we seeing F8? No. Okay. Maybe I have to go into my settings. Oh, this is fantastic commentary, QuickyBaby. You're a 10 out of 10 YouTuber right now, right? Maybe. Where is it? Okay, there it is. Yeah, reloading. So that F8 calculates your... Well, it broadcasts your reload time to your team. Alright, so during that moment, you'll see that I actually pinged the map a few times, and I asked the S1, please attack Time Lords, because that's his name. I was hoping like I could coax him into advancing, because obviously the Borsig and the 432 are around here. There's no way the Borsig's going through the town. They're sitting at the back and trying to wait for me, and so I wanted the S1 to advance to here to be able to assist me, because with 4 minutes left on the game, it is now time to push. So I'm going to go through the bushes here to try and give myself some cover, and there's the 432. We managed to catch him out in the open. He fires a heat round at my tracks. My artillery finishes him off, and the object 261, I believe he was marking the terrain. Okay, so the batch at 15558 only does 112 damage to me with a narrow miss there, I believe. And we use some evasive maneuvers to hopefully not be able to get hit by him again. And I ping the map as to where he is, and I'm advancing along the corner towards him. But unfortunately, we can't find the batch at 15558. I'm trying to flank him. Borsig has managed to get my flank. I auto-aim at the Borsig, fire off one shot, hoping that he's going to ricochet off my frontal hull armor on my side. But it was not to be. Artillery puts in one good shell. Will the artillery put in another good shell? We're not quite going to see. I immediately click over and try to look to see what this S1 is doing. Now, I say in caps lock in chat, go attack. What's going through this player's mind right now? Every single one of the enemy vehicles was spotted, and this S1 is just deciding to just chill in base. And I really don't know what's going through this fellow's mind. It's incredibly frustrating for me to just... I don't know. Is he just wanting to... And also... Keep this in mind for later. The object 261 says 1 ammo. Okay, alright. Well, we're going to have to see what he's going to be able to do with that final round. I just don't know. What's going through the mind of this player right now? Is he expecting... Does he just want to... Is it because it's easier to sit in base? Is it because he really thinks that the Borsig and the batch at 15558 are going to advance straight through here towards his cap circle where he gets some clean shots? I say in the chat again... 2 minutes, S1, go. M4043 says, I wait for you. And the Stridsvang S1 now says no, which was a little bit frustrating. And oh my word, my self-propelled guns decide to go tank destroyer game mode here at the end of the game. And they managed to shut down the batch at 15558, which I was really happy with. The S1 just continues to camp down on the flank. I guess right now I've just given up hope on the S1. I knew that he wasn't going to do anything more. Well, actually, it looks like at the time I hadn't given up. I asked him to go one more time. He's got a minute and a half. If the S1 goes into this position, he'll easily be able to get a shot into the Borsig to win the game at the end. But I guess in stoic resolve or just sheer stubbornness, he decides to just continue to sit in base. And look at these two artillery making their way into the enemy cap circle right now. The M4043 and the 261 managed to find some bushes. As you can see, I say in the bushes, boys. I love these two artillery players. I messaged them both after the game to say just how much fun it was to play with them. But whether it's going to be a win or not, we're going to have to see. Now, this is me kind of being a little bit of a... I'm kind of micromanaging a little bit too much here. I'm asking the M4043 to get in the bush because I'm expecting that the Borsig's going to come from there. But I don't know what I'm talking about because, look, the Borsig comes straight ahead. Oh, no, the M4043 misses his shell. The Object 261 takes a big round from the Borsig. But luckily, the Borsig doesn't get finished off. And the Object 261 finishes off the Borsig with his final remaining shell. And I just absolutely love that these two self-propelled guns went tank destroyer-esque game mode at the end here to take this one down. Just no thanks to the S1 who's still sitting in that bush there. I just don't know what was going through his mind. So this was a Confederate and a high caliber for my Object 140 here, but I really wasn't the hero of this battle. Look at this M4043 on top of experience in a tier 8 self-propelled gun on Runeberg with 4 kills. What an absolute champ. It was an absolute pleasure to play with you, Kak. Paraka. And also the Object 261 deserves a shout out because this 261 got a Faden's medal for destroying the final remaining vehicle with his final remaining shell. And BJR 68 was a pleasure to play with you. And I'm still trying to figure out why the S1 would just chill at the back like that. Was it because maybe he was trying to do some kind of mission where he had to do damage or some kind of spotting and survive? Or maybe it's just easier to not take the risk at the end of the game to try and win it. But thank goodness that our 2 artillery decided to take the risks. And in this case, it does look like he who dares wins. And so that's it for today, ladies and gents. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. But if you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic and hopefully I'll see you soon.